The question here tells us that a short paragraph is given to us, and this short paragraph has four summaries. We have to pick the one that is best summarizing the passage. So we have these four choices. Let's read the passage first. To me, a classic means precisely the opposite of what my predecessors understood. A work is classical by reasons of its resistance to contemporaneity and supposed universality. By reason of its capacity to indicate human particularity and difference in the past epoch. So the author says the classic is not what tells me about shared humanity. So the author has very clearly said the classic is not what tells me about shared humanity, or more truthfully put, what lets me recognize myself as already present in the past. What nourishes in me the illusion that everything has been like me and has existed only to prepare the way for me. Instead, he says the classic is what gives me access to radically different forms of human consciousness for any given generation of readers, and thereby expands for them the range of possibilities of what it means to be a human being. So the author says the classic is something that gives access to radically different forms of human consciousness. Radically different means basically new, or something that is widely different from the common lot, right? So this is what so the author has basically, in the passage, the author has defined what classic means to him. Initially he says this is what it does not mean, and then he says this is what it means to me. Now let's read the options and check which option basically precisely gives what the author has in mind or summarizes the key idea. Now the key idea basically is what the author means by classic. So the author has given two things: what classic does not mean to him, and basically what is the exact definition of classic according to him. Now, when we are summarizing the passage, we must basically put what the author means by a classic rather than what he does not mean by a classic. Now, D says a classic is a work that provides access to universal experience of the human race, as opposed to radically different forms of human consciousness. Now, this option is contradicting what the author has said in the last sentence. The author says the classic is what gives access to radically different forms of human consciousness and expands for them the range of possibilities. So if it is giving access to radically different forms of human consciousness, then how can we say that classic is the work that provides access to universal experience as opposed to radically different forms of human consciousness? It's not opposed to that. So D goes out. A says a classic is able to focus on the contemporary human condition and a unified, again, the unified experience of human consciousness is not what the author has in mind. The author says a classic is not what tells me about shared humanity. So unified humanity and shared humanity is not what the author has in mind. So even A is going against what the author has said. B says a classical work seeks to resist particularity and temporal difference even as it focuses on, so that means basically parallelly it focuses on common humanity, at the same time it seeks to resist particularity and temporal difference. But the author has said that it is not about shared humanity. So if we compare B with C, we find C as a better option, because a classic is a work exploring the new, going beyond the universal. So is it going beyond the universal, or is it focusing on the common humanity? Even as it focuses, that means basically the focusing is happening, but here the focusing is not happening. And the author has said it is not what tells me about shared humanity. It is about radically different forms of human consciousness. So C is better. All the others are basically going against what the author has expressed. And therefore, my suggestion is that you must read carefully and analyze how one option differs from the other option. Because A, B, and D, they all are going against what is given in the passage. And C is the best choice because it says here that it is exploring the new. That means basically access to radically different forms of human consciousness, going beyond the universal. It is not what tells me about shared humanity. But in option A, a unified experience. Option B, even as it focuses on common humanity. Option D, a classic is a work that provides access to universal experience. So they all are speaking the same thing, which the author is against. And therefore C is the best choice.